Have you ever felt as if loving someone was the beginning of your own emotional destruction, as if the more you gave of yourself, the more you lost yourself? The raw, naked truth is that most people don't know how to love. They merely attach. They confuse love with need, presence with possession, affection with dependency. Stoicism emerges as a beacon in this emotional darkness, offering a new vision of how to love with strength, awareness, and without suffering. The Stoics didn't reject love. They simply refused to suffer over what they couldn't control. Love should not be a sentence of pain, but an exercise in freedom. It's not about avoiding feelings, but about educating them. Love, when guided by reason rather than need, becomes one of the highest human experiences. And this is what Stoicism proposes: a mature love, serene and rooted in truth, not fantasy. True love doesn't destroy you. It strengthens you. But for this, you must reprogram how you view relationships. You must abandon the mindset of an emotional victim and assume the role of a rational being who loves through virtue, not addiction. If you're tired of losing yourself in loves that hurt more than heal, of giving while expecting something in return, or of emotionally depending on someone to feel whole, this was made for you. Today, we'll explore 9 timeless lessons on how to love without suffering, how to build healthier relationships, and how to keep your peace, even amidst intense passion. But before we dive into this transformative wisdom, here, you'll learn how to armor your mind, fortify your emotions, and master your life with practical Stoic wisdom. Now, let's begin. 1. Love as if it were temporary, because it is. Most people love as if love were eternal, unchanging, and guaranteed. But this illusion breeds attachment, suffering, and frustration. The Stoics viewed love through a far more realistic lens. Nothing external to you is permanent, not the person, not the relationship, not the emotions. Understanding this, you begin to love more wisely, without desperation, without fear, without control. Imagine loving someone while knowing from the start that one day they may leave, not because you want it, but because life is this way. Everything changes. Everything transforms. The beauty of love lies in its impermanence. Precisely because it's fleeting, it must be valued, lived with presence and intensity, but without illusions of ownership or eternity. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher, said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be." Beef 1. This applies to love too. Don't waste time trying to predict a relationship's future, trying to guarantee what was never yours to control. Be present. Be true. Be virtuous. Love consciously, but never with emotional blindness. To love as if temporary doesn't mean loving less. Quite the opposite. It means loving with more attention, more intention, and more respect, because anything that can end deserves to be lived deeply while it lasts. The Stoic doesn't waste moments deluding themselves with promises of forever. They live now with dignity. The problem is, most love expecting guarantees. They demand promises that the other will never change, vows of eternal love, commitments to always be there. But this is irrational. Life's only constant is change, and love is no exception. When you accept this, suffering vanishes. What remains is what matters. The pure feeling, without dependency. Attachment arises from denying impermanence. You suffer because you refuse to accept that things end, that people change, that love transforms. But Stoic philosophy teaches us to embrace this reality with serenity. To love wisely is to accept that endings are part of the cycle and still choose to love with all you have. When you understand love's temporariness, every gesture gains value. Every glance, every touch, every word carries new intensity. You stop wasting time on petty fights, emotional games, and ego battles, because you know everything could vanish in an instant, and what will remain is the memory of how you loved, with greatness, with presence, with nobility. The Stoic doesn't suffer from anticipation, nor idealization. They love with feet on the ground, and an open heart. They know they can't control destiny, but can control their actions. They choose to love virtuously, even knowing the other may leave, because those who love profoundly never lose, even when the other departs. They remain whole, love as if temporary, because it is. But don't let this make you cold. Let it make you profoundly aware of each moment's value with those you love, because ultimately, love that doesn't cling, demand, or beg is a love that truly liberates. 2, you own no one. One of love's greatest sources of suffering is the illusion of ownership. People believe that by being in a relationship, the other belongs to them, like an object, a possession, private property. This is a fatal error. No one owns anyone, not in the name of love, nor commitment. And Stoicism reminds us of this with brutal clarity. Everything external to you lies beyond your control, including those you love. Loving someone doesn't grant you rights over their life, doesn't entitle you to make demands, accusations, manipulations, or controls. Loving someone doesn't mean they owe you, doesn't mean they must act as you expect. You don't own their feelings, their time, their past or future. The Stoic understands. True love exists only in freedom. Epictetus taught we should treat others as travelers lodging in the same inn as our soul, meaning they're with us for a time, but don't belong to us. When you demand control. 2, you own no one. One of love's greatest sources of suffering is the illusion of ownership. People believe that by being in a relationship, the other belongs to them, like an object, a possession, private property. This is a fatal error. No one owns anyone, not in the name of love, nor commitment. And Stoicism reminds us of this with brutal clarity. Everything external to you lies beyond your control, including those you love. Loving someone doesn't grant you rights over their life, doesn't entitle you to make demands, accusations, manipulations, or controls. Loving someone doesn't mean they owe you, doesn't mean they must act as you expect. You don't own their feelings, their time, their past or future. The Stoic understands. True love exists only in freedom. Epictetus taught we should treat others as travelers lodging in the same inn as our soul, meaning they're with us for a time, but don't belong to us. When you try molding others to your standards, when you impose your will as law, you cease to love. You're merely projecting insecurity and need, disguised as love. Stoic love is adult. It respects the other's autonomy. It understands no one exists to serve, complete, or save you. The other is their own universe, with desires, boundaries, and dreams not revolving around you. And that's okay. Healthy love blossoms when two free beings choose to walk together, not when one tries emotionally imprisoning the other. Pain arises when you believe you have rights over someone. When they act differently than expected, you suffer, but this suffering doesn't come from love. It comes from expectation, from attempted ownership, from frustration over lacking control. The root lies within you. The Stoic doesn't outsource their pain. They examine it. They correct themselves. Rather than trying to correct the other, how often have you fought from jealousy, insecurity, control? How often tried manipulating someone from fear of loss? This isn't love. This is desperation. True love doesn't suffocate. Monitor, interrogate. Real love is quiet, steady, and respects others' freedom as much as it demands respect for your own. Those who truly love know, the freer the other is, the truer the love. You own no one, and this isn't loss. It's liberation. When you stop trying to control others, you start tending the only thing you truly can control: yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your thoughts. And in doing so, you become more stable, more secure, more attractive. Self-control is magnetic. Emotional freedom is powerful. Love, knowing the other is with you by choice, not obligation, that at any moment they may leave, and that's okay. You remain whole. When you demand control, the Stoic loves courageously, but never submissively. They know love can't be imposed. It's offered. If accepted, it's celebrated with respect. If refused, it's withdrawn with dignity. When you truly understand you own no one, you stop making demands and start building, because love isn't possession. It's partnership, and partnership requires freedom. This is why Stoic love is stronger, because it doesn't trap, it chooses to stay daily, without chains, without fear, without illusions. 3. Don't expect reciprocity. Act through virtue. The greatest emotional trap in relationships is expecting too much from others. You love, care, give, and expect the same in return. But this expectation is the root of frustration. The moment you love expecting something back, love stops being virtuous and becomes an emotional transaction. The Stoics didn't love expecting rewards. They loved because it was right, because it reflected their character. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters." This applies directly to love. What matters isn't whether others reciprocate exactly as you wish, but who you become through loving. Are you generous, loyal, present, calm? This is virtue. This is greatness. This no one can take, not even rejection. To love virtuously means acting with kindness, patience, respect, even when the other isn't at your level of awareness. This isn't about accepting disrespect or submission. Quite the opposite. It's about maintaining your standards, your posture, your purity, regardless of what you receive. This is Stoic love. Love that comes from within. Love that doesn't depend. Others' feelings for you lie beyond your control, but what you choose to offer lies entirely within your power. The Stoic understands love reflects who they are, not who the other is. They don't stoop to ingratitude, react with bitterness, seek revenge. They offer their best, because virtuous action is ultimate proof of inner freedom. You suffer because you condition happiness on others' actions. You expect attention, returns, gestures, words, confirmations, and when these don't come, you collapse. But the problem isn't the other, it's your expectation. Stoicism teaches you to remove this weight, to do good without needing recognition, to love without losing yourself, to give without emptying. This is emotional maturity. Those who love virtuously don't obsess over reciprocity. They understand not everyone is ready to love the same way, and that's okay. The Stoic sees clearly, if the relationship is fair, it will flourish naturally. If not, they walk away with honor, not resentment, because they don't need others' responses to validate their love's purity. This kind of love intimidates, because it isn't needy, demanding, or dramatic. It simply is. And this firm, centered, silent posture often speaks louder than words. Stoic love doesn't beg. It inspires. It raises a relationship standard. And if the other can't match it, the Stoic moves forward without bitterness. Virtue is mature love's compass. If you act with truth, ethics, balance, you win regardless of the relationship's outcome. Because victory lies in having stayed true, those who love virtuously never lose. Even when unacknowledged, even when abandoned, because virtuous action leaves no shame. So don't love expecting applause, attention, or guarantees. Love with dignity. Love with clarity. Love because you chose to, not because you desperately need to be loved. This is Stoic love's essence, an act of character, not a conquest. For accept what you can't control. Nothing drains relationships faster than trying to control the uncontrollable. Humans have a near-desperate tendency to mold others to their desires, to control what others feel, think, do, say, choose. But this impulse, however common, is useless. Worse, it's destructive. The Stoics were clear. Suffering springs from trying to control what isn't yours. And in love, this is fatal. You can't control whether others love you equally, whether they'll be faithful, present, mature, whether they'll stay or leave. You can give your best, be loyal, patient, true, but you can't guarantee anyone's behavior. The sooner you accept this, the less you'll suffer and the freer you'll be. Epictetus said, "Some things are within our power, others are not." The Stoic mind lives by this division, and this is serenity's key. Focus only on what's your responsibility. In love, this means tending your posture, your presence, your truth, and releasing obsession with outcomes, because outcomes are consequences, never controls. Many suffer wanting certainty about others' feelings, wanting absolute emotional control, wanting eternal promises. But real life doesn't work this way. Emotions fluctuate. People change. Situations flip. The need to control is, at core, fear disguised as love. And fear contaminates. It breeds anxiety, jealousy, paranoia, insecurity, killing the relationship's lightness. Stoic love isn't based on control, but acceptance, not passive resignation, but intelligent acknowledgement of reality's limits. You accept you've no power over others' hearts. And in accepting this, you start caring better for yourself. Because everything within your control begins there with you. Accepting the uncontrollable isn't surrender. It's liberation. It's stopping the self-torture of wondering why others didn't act as you hoped. It's ceasing to repeat, "I did everything right. Why did it go wrong?" Because truthfully, it's not about right or wrong. It's human nature, free will, paths crossing and parting, all beyond your power. When you truly grasp others are free to leave, you start valuing their presence more, because they're not there by obligation, but choice. And when love is chosen, it's truer. When free, it's purer. Only those who could leave, but choose to stay, truly love. The Stoic mind learns to release, to let go, to stop fighting currents. This isn't weakness. It's maturity. You accept what can't be changed and strengthen what can. Your emotional discipline, your balance, your dignity. Mature love grows from this quiet strength of those who don't beg, demand, or despair, who simply observe and choose wisely. Loving without suffering is impossible if you try controlling everything, but entirely possible if you accept what's beyond you and focus on what's in your hands. And what's in your hands? Your posture, your serenity, your ability to release what no longer serves. Love is an art, and all art requires inner mastery, not outer control. 5. Expectations are emotional traps. You don't suffer from others' actions. You suffer from what you expected and didn't receive. This is the truth most refuse to see. Love's pain doesn't come from reality, but from expectations imposed upon it. We create idealized versions of people, relationships, futures, and when reality doesn't match, our world crumbles. But the Stoics warned, the higher the expectation, the greater the disappointment. You suffer not because they were cold, but because you expected warmth. Not because they left, but because you expected presence. Not because they changed, but because you believed they'd stay forever. All this was created in your mind. And the more you fed these projections, the more vulnerable to frustration you became. Love doesn't hurt. Attachment to your mental stories does. The Stoic lives in reality, sees people as they are, not as desired, loves without idealizing, gives fully, but with open eyes, without imposing romantic fantasies on real life, because those who overproject, blind themselves, and blinded become frustrated. Expectation is silent poison, eroding love from within. People are imperfect. They fail. They change minds. They act unlike you would. And that's okay. This isn't cause for suffering, just reality functioning. When you learn to love without demanding others meet your standards, you free yourself. You stop suffering over lacking control and start appreciating what is, not what you imagined. The mistake is loving conditionally, loving while expecting returns, loving hoping others will complete you. But Stoic love differs. It's an offering, not a demand. You give your best, then release. If reciprocated, wonderful. If not, you remain whole, because you didn't love from lack, but from choice. And those who choose to love don't crumble when unmet. Marcus Aurelius taught to serenely accept what comes externally, meaning, don't delude yourself over what you can't control. Others' behavior lies beyond your domain. So why torment yourself? Accept what's given, then decide if it's enough. If yes, stay. If no, go. But stop hurting yourself trying to force others into your ideals. Expecting others to love exactly as you do is unfair, because everyone has their own timing, ways, past. Real love is flexible. It understands limitations. It welcomes, observes, respects. It doesn't demand perfection or impose emotional rules. It simply lets others be, then decides if building together is possible. Releasing expectations lets you love lightly, without weight, without demands, without silent resentments that destroy. You live the relationship's present, without forcing a future. You appreciate what exists without obsessing over what could be. This changes everything, because love born of acceptance outlasts need-based love. So pause now. See what truly hurts you in love. It's not others' absence, but your expectations of them. Release these illusions. See reality clearly, then consciously choose whether to continue or move on. But remember, Stoic love demands nothing. It simply is, without delusions, without guarantees, without drama, just truth. 6. Don't flee pain. Transform it into wisdom. Pain is inevitable. You may try ignoring, distracting, or burying it beneath pride, but it will knock, especially in love. What separates the weak from the strong isn't who feels pain, but what they do with it. The Stoics didn't deny pain. They faced it courageously. Knowing fleeing pain ensures it consumes you, but facing it is the first step to mastering it. When love ends, or when deeply disappointed, the common impulse is to escape pain, drown in distractions, seek quick replacements, feign indifference. But this is just emotional makeup. Ignored pain doesn't vanish. It accumulates until exploding in worse forms. Anger, bitterness, insecurity, despair. Stoicism teaches pain must be understood, not avoided. Epictetus said, pain comes not from things themselves, but from our judgments about them. Meaning, pain doesn't destroy you. Your interpretation does. You can see pain as punishment, or as a teacher, as an end, or a rebirth. All depends on your stance. The Stoic doesn't ask, why me? But what can I learn? Pain reveals, shows where you misplaced your identity, whether you love balanced or dependent, whether you saw reality or fed illusions. Pain mirrors, and those brave enough to look honestly discover stronger, clearer, more centered versions of themselves. Turning pain to wisdom isn't easy. It's a process requiring silence, emotional discipline, rigorous self-examination. But this forges a Stoic spirit, those unbroken by loss, but rebuilt with stronger foundations. Pain isn't the end, just a flame tempering your soul's steel. To love without suffering doesn't mean without pain. It means not being destroyed by it. You'll be hurt. You'll grieve. You'll weep. This is natural, but you won't be lost, because with each fall, you learn to fall better. Each wound becomes a lesson on your limits. Choices. Maturity, it hurts, but teaches. And if it teaches, it was worth it. The Stoic knows a broken heart often begins true transformation, because when everything shatters, you get to rebuild consciously, without illusions, without emotional addictions, without neediness. You become more selective, stronger, calmer, understanding the pain was actually purification. You lost nothing. You were freed. Pain also cleanses, separates essential from trivial, shows who stayed and who is just passing through, reveals what's worth keeping and what to release. When you stop running from pain, you start hearing its message, and listening carefully, you grow, you evolve, you ascend consciousness ladder. So don't flee, don't play victim, don't rage. Today's pain could be tomorrow's strength. If you face it with clarity, discipline, truth. As Marcus Aurelius said, what harms can instruct if you let it? Mature love doesn't deny pain. It transforms it. 7. Self-love isn't selfishness. Its foundation. Many confuse self-love with selfishness. Thinking prioritizing yourself. Saying no. Distancing from toxicity. Signals coldness or arrogance. But this view is distorted. Self-love isn't self-obsession. It's protecting your essence. And in Stoicism, this foundation must be solid for anything, including love, to flourish maturely. Without self-love, every relationship becomes emotional survival. You silence yourself to please. Endure what violates your values. Fearing abandonment. This isn't love. It's self-abandonment. And Stoics never abandon themselves for anyone. They know no one can give what you haven't built within. Epictetus taught that to be invincible, you must remain faithful to yourself. Self-love is this fidelity. The unshakable base preventing others from destroying you. When you love yourself, you don't beg for attention. Don't accept crumbs. Don't lose yourself in neediness. You value. Listen, protect yourself. This makes you love from strength, not fragility. Those lacking self-love enter relationships hoping others will complete them, as if partners were sources of esteem. Peace, happiness, but this burdens both. You outsource what's yours to carry. And when they fail, as all humans do, you collapse. Self-love prevents this dependency. It makes you whole. Before loving another, in Stoicism, you're responsible for your inner foundation. No relationship can save you from voids you refuse to fill. No compliment heals insecurities you nurture. No external love compensates for internal absence. Thus, the Stoic tends their mind. Character, discipline, they prepare to love without losing themselves. Loving others without self-love is like fueling a car with an empty tank. You may try, but eventually stall, because emotional fuel is missing. Self-love is this fuel. It lets you set boundaries, say no when needed, walk away from disrespect. And in doing so, you show the world how to treat you, without shouting or explaining. When you love yourself, you attract healthier relationships, because you don't tolerate just anything. Don't settle. Don't engage in humiliation, dependency, imbalance. You become selective, not from pride, but wisdom. The Stoic loves wisely, not to fill voids, but from overflow. Self-love also helps endure heartbreak, because you don't shatter. You feel deeply, but don't disappear. You know your worth. Know you deserve better than what diminishes you. This awareness sustains, lifts, propels you. Those who love themselves don't beg for affection. They wait for genuine connections. And if necessary, prefer their own company to bad company. Loving yourself is step one to loving others maturely. No healthy relationship exists without this foundation. So, tend your inner temple. Strengthen your mind. Honor your essence. Because only those who truly love themselves can love others without forgetting who they are. Self-love isn't selfishness. It's wisdom. And those loving wisely suffer less, live more, and give authentically. 8. Silence is more powerful than emotional reaction. In tense moments, when hearts race and minds boil, the first impulse is emotional reaction, to shout, retaliate, attack, justify, beg, or cry. But Stoicism offers superior virtue. Silence, not as escape, but mastery. Silence is an absence of response. It's a higher response. And in love, its power surpasses words. People believe they must always speak, defend, explain, demand answers. But well-used silence speaks volumes. It demonstrates control, shows you won't be dragged into chaos, that you command your energy, won't yield to provocation. The Stoic doesn't scramble to be understood. They rest in their own clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Better to restrain speech than to retract words later." In conflict, you always have two choices: react and regret, or stay silent and observe. The first soothes ego briefly. The second strengthens mind permanently. Silence is a choice of those seeking self-mastery, not debate victories. And this is true triumph. In love, many lose respect by being emotionally hijacked, exploding in jealousy, insecurity, rage, manipulation. Thinking volume earns seriousness. But the opposite occurs. The more you react, the more power you surrender. Stoic silence isn't submission. It's posture. It signals unshakable self-knowledge. Silence also protects in pain or rejection. The impulse is to chase, beg, demand explanations. But this is humiliation disguised as love. The Stoic doesn't beg to be loved. They know if another chooses distance, the best response is calm withdrawal, because quiet absence speaks louder than desperate pleas. Those who silence firmly become unforgettable. This silence isn't coldness, but inner discipline. It requires strength, because restraining emotional reactions is like holding back a volcano. But those mastering this force develop rare power, freedom from emotional slavery. In today's shouting world, those who stay silent are instantly noticed and respected. Mature love doesn't argue endlessly. It knows when silence outweighs explanations. There are moments when speaking worsens, when responding shows weakness, when countering exposes insecurity. In these times, the Stoic chooses silence, not from weakness, but understanding not everything deserves response, nor every attack attention. Moreover, silence reveals who's truly with you. Those wanting to hear will seek you. Those valuing you will feel your absence. Those mature will respect your space. The Stoic withdraws honorably and observes. They don't force connection, don't flail emotionally. They trust reality's truth and give others space to reflect. Miss them, because silence gives others room to listen. Instead of reacting, stay silent. Instead of demanding, stay silent. Instead of humiliating yourself, stay silent. Silence isn't weakness. It's self-control elevated to nobility. And in love, this silence often speaks louder than any declaration. It proves you're not at others' mercy. You're anchored in who you are. 9, you can love and still walk away. One of love's greatest lies is that if you love someone, you must stay at all costs. That love alone justifies enduring, even when you're broken inside. But the Stoics knew a hard truth few admit. Love is enough when it erodes your essence. Peace, dignity, yes, you can love deeply and still choose to leave. The notion that love bears all things creates sick relationships. People stay where unvalued, unseen, because they mistake intensity for destiny, believing strong feelings mean they must endure. But the Stoic knows virtue precedes emotion, and if loving someone means abandoning yourself, this isn't love. It's prison. Marcus Aurelius said, "We must live according to nature, and human nature is to grow, evolve, expand. Any relationship stifling this betrays your purpose. This isn't selfishness. It's preservation. You're not here to prove pain endurance, but to become your best self. And sometimes this means leaving love behind. To love, yet leave, requires courage, far more than staying from comfort, fear, or attachment. Choosing departure while still loving tells the world and yourself that your worth surpasses emotion, that your peace isn't for sale, that your dignity won't be negotiated. This is among Stoicism's highest stances, principles over impulses. Many ask, how can I leave if I still love? The answer is clear, because loving isn't synonymous with staying. Staying is choice, and all choices require criteria. If the relationship diminishes you, dims your light, distant from who you are, then remaining love isn't enough to justify suffering. And if the other won't change, you must be the first to move away. The pain of loving yet leaving is real, but it's purifying pain. It cuts deep, but heals with awareness. You'll grieve, but with certainty you chose yourself, and this choice liberates. The Stoic knows leaving's pain is temporary, but staying where you don't grow, that damage can last. Love is beautiful, but if it costs your core, the price is too high. There's no honor in staying from need, no glory in clinging to those blind to your worth. You could be the most loving person, but that doesn't mean tolerating everything. The Stoic loves intensely, but never blindly. They know when to fight and when to release, and when time comes to go, they leave quietly, firmly, respectfully. Departing isn't quitting. It's maturity, knowing you gave your all, but won't destroy yourself for anyone. It's recognizing that sometimes love means releasing what prevents your wholeness. Understanding this, you start loving more consciously, more discerningly, more wisely. And if love returns, wonderful. If not, you'll walk strong, having lost nothing, gained yourself. So remember, you can love and still walk away. And this may be self-love's highest act, because loving others shouldn't require abandoning yourself. Ultimately, the most important love is that which keeps you true, even when truth means leaving. Conclusion, having journeyed here, it's clear that true love must be free and above all, conscious. Loving shouldn't mean desperation, dependency, or blindness, but reflect your inner balance. The Stoics weren't cold. They were wise. They knew love is noble, but loving with dignity is superior. Deep feelings shouldn't drown, but elevate. Every lesson explored wasn't about avoiding love, but purifying it, removing excess, illusion, destructive expectation. Mature love springs from self-mastery, blooms in respect, sustains through freedom. It doesn't drain, but enriches, doesn't trap, but propels. If you want such love, healthy, profound, real, change begins within. If this resonated, provoke thought, or strengthen your resolve in relationships, then join this journey. Here you'll find no empty advice, but practical philosophy, timeless wisdom, emotional tools to forge unshakable minds. And if you know someone trapped in painful love, share this. It may be exactly what they need today. Now tell me, will you keep loving as before, or finally love, like a Stoic,